Hi there, I'm Coach Cal of the Treigning Lab, and I'm here to talk to you guys today about one of the most intricate yet misunderstood topics in all of sports performance, and that is the concept of hydration and dehydration. In talking about hydration, I'm probably going to go ahead and start with talking to you about some of the ill effects and the manifestation of problems that are basically attributed to dehydration. A loss of as small as 2 to 5% of your body water can cause definite concern because the brain will begin to actually lose alertness, and the body will begin to feel fatigued. 6 to 10% body water loss is considered moderate dehydration, and certainly can cause problems. This level would definitely mitigate your hard work, your practice, and relegate your body to a subpar performance. In many cases, it seems as though you never really practiced at all. Then you have 11 to 15% dehydration, which many sports that are weight specific basically undergo. This can cause grave ramifications, including coma, cardiovascular system collapse, kidneys can fail, etc. So with that being said, that would be considered severe dehydration. It's really not that much when you're looking at a sport where an athlete can actually sweat within 15 to 20 minute period up to 2-3 pounds. And so along with the sweating and the water goes the electrolyte in the body. And so we have a really tough situation if you're trying to perform at your peak without proper hydration. So what we want to do is understand that science has shown, basically in the Journal of Sports Science, that there is up to 30% increase into your ability to be able to work longer, harder, and basically stay more focused if you stay sufficiently hydrated with proper electrolyte balance, including sodium, potassium, calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, etc. So looking at that, a couple facts I want to go ahead and point out for y'all is that the body is made up of a considerable amount of water. Basically, what you're looking at is, for a female, is between 45 and 55% of total body water. And for a male, you're looking at between 55 and 65% total body water. Now, that body water is made up of several compartments, but the main two is in fact the intracellular water and the extracellular water. So that means the water that's in your cells and then the water that houses your cells. What a lot of people don't understand is that 2/3 of your body water is on intracellular cells. And that would be like looking at a grape. The water inside of a grape would be kind of akin to intracellular water. Extracellular would be if you had your grapes in a bowl of water, that the grapes would be floating in there. So total body water would be the grapes water in addition to the water that houses them, total body water. That means that 2/3 of your body water is intracellular, about 1/3 is extracellular outside of the grapes there. But in compartmentalizing, a really good fact is that the more muscular you are, the more hydration actually is important to you, because up to 75% of your muscle weight is actually water. And so as athletes, everybody's training, trying to optimize their performance and become the best they can be. But when I'm looking at 75% of my water is actually going to be, or my muscles is actually going to be water by volume, then it becomes a really important thing to understand. Probably the most important thing to understand, though, is the brain. The brain is approximately 85% water, and it requires a very narrow range of dehydration to be able to affect it. That affects neurotransmitter production, it affects reaction time, it affects basically cognitive judgment, neuromuscular recruitment, muscular recruitment, motor unit recruitment, all these things related to hydration. And one of the things that you need to understand is that you don't even have to sweat to lose water. The way our bodies are made is that we lose approximately 8 to 10 cups, or a little over 4 liters, or I should say, 2 liters a day, which is about 4.4 pounds a day through urination, condensation, which is basically breathing, and basically excretion, which would be bowel movements, things like that. And that doesn't even include sweating at its fullest capacity. So you can see that there is a considerable amount of water that is lost out of the body through just regulatory means of the body's functions. We can only live about 3 days without water, and that's a very short amount of time. We can go a considerable amount of time without food, but without water, we have a real problem. And so when I talk about water, I want to make sure you understand that proper hydration is not about drinking water, water, water. In fact, there's a condition called hyponatremia, which is low sodium blood plasma that kills or maims many athletes throughout the year. In fact, a lot of endurance athletes suffer from it. I know in the Ironman triathlon, of which I compete myself, there were about 14 people who died in 1 year simply from trying to ingest large amounts of water, sweating, becoming low sodium blood plasma, not being able to replace that sodium. And so the water, basically by osmotic process, is going to diffuse the water out of the plasma to come to homeostasis with the remaining sodium that is in the plasma. So basically the blood volume goes down, the organs become saturated, and they begin to swell. The body begins to retain water. And if you ever saw anybody with hyponatremia, you'll notice that they start to swell, even though they're sweating profusely. It's because their body is trying to balance itself out with the homeostatic, hydrostatic pressure within the arteries and the veins, the venules, and the capillaries, etc. And that's the bad thing, because about a 5% increase in the brain volume can actually cause a brain herniation in the brainstem, which can kill you. And unfortunately, there are many people who have done this. I've actually seen cases where you'd see somebody who started a race at 180 pounds and they became severely dehydrated from the aspect of low sodium blood plasma. In other words, their body didn't have the nourishments to stay truly hydrated in it, yet it had excess water. And by the end of the race, 12 hours later, they were weighing 196 or close to 200 pounds, even though they were sweating. So the body was hoarding. So hydration is something really not to mess with, but to understand the specifics. Probably the best way to address that is to understand what true hydration is. And true hydration is really not drinking water, or you'll see drinking Gatorade or things like that. It's actually done through a process called the fulfillment of exclusionary zone water. And exclusionary zone water is known as the fourth state of water. The fourth state of water kind of is confusing to a lot of people, because most people think that there's solid, liquid, vapor. But there is actually a fourth state of water that is called a exclusionary zone water, or a structured water. And this water is what irrigates the entire fascia of your body. And the fascia is essentially the filament, or if you like, bags that hold your body together underneath your skin. It's actually a very fine layer that has irrigation canals on it, much like the aqueducts. And within that is how your body truly stays hydrated, which is so contrary to what most people think. I'll drink water, it goes in my stomach, I'm gonna be hydrated. But it's not actually the true case. The true case is that your body stays hydrated through the exclusionary zone irrigation of its organs in the fascia. And this fourth state of water is actually called a gel. The interesting part about it is you don't really drink it. It's actually how you eat. It's what you ingest and how you do that. And so the really neat part about exclusionary zone water is this form of water actually begins to become structured within your cells. And when it does, it begins to coalesce, which is to kind of fit together and vibrate. it forces toxicities out of your cells, and then when exposed to certain light waves, it literally makes the charge of the water molecule negatively charged, which is thereby forming a battery within each of your millions and trillions of cells in your body. That's pretty amazing. And so that's a neat thing, because a water molecule is normally neutrally charged. So if you truly hydrate correctly, you can literally begin to make your own cells become supercharged batteries within your own physiology. That's a pretty neat thing, and there's a way to do that. That'll be another video, but this video is basically just to inform you as to the need for hydration, the understanding that true hydration is not just about drinking water, but it's about drinking water with a sufficient supply of electrolytes. And yes, in those electrolytes is sodium. A lot of people try to cut sodium out, but it's one of the worst things you can do to facilitate the true electrolysis in your body, because like it or not, our bodies function in an electrical circuit. And your organs, your energy intensive organs, your brain, your heart, your kidneys, all function in that capacity. And if you do not have proper electrolyte balance, then basically you can see that the lights are going to begin to dim in the body. There goes performance, there goes reaction time, there goes cognitive reaction time, there goes all kinds of performance-based modalities. So with that being said, how much water that is electrolyte fortified should somebody drink in a day? Well, just to let you know, the old adage of 8-ounce glasses a day is not quite accurate, especially for an athlete. We're looking at that being only about 64 ounces a day, which is really, if you think about it, 64 ounces is about 4 pounds of water. But I already just mentioned to you in the beginning of this video that we lose about 4 pounds of water each day just due to urination, condensation, and regular perspiration. So with that being said, we got a problem. 4 in, 4 out without any sweating or any activity puts you at a deficit of dehydration. So one crazy fact is that many athletes walk around chronically dehydrated. And that can be a real bad thing. Definitely going to mess up your performance, and it's going to mitigate your training for sure. So how much water should somebody drink? Well, a general rule of thumb, unless you have true hydration practices and can measure sweat rate, which we do here at the Treigning Lab, and things like that with bioimpedance to be able to identify intracellular, extracellular water and cellular body loss. The general idea is to take your body weight and divide it by 2, and then give a compensatory effect or addition of water for how hard you're working or the conditions that you're working in. For example, if you weigh 200 pounds, you would take half of that body weight in ounces. So 200 divided by 2 is going to give you 100 ounces. 100 ounces is close to 96 ounces or 3 quarts, roughly 3 liters, right around there. That's going to give you, if you look at it, about a little bit less than a gallon. However, when I say a little bit less than a gallon, we have to talk about what type of stressors you're placing on your body to induce sweating or water loss. Are you in a hot environment? Are you in a situation where you're in a closed room where you're sweating a lot? Are you in a sport that causes a huge amount of perspiration? If that's the case, then we want to add about 16 to 32 ounces to the total intake. That takes us to your body weight divided by 2, which is 100. And if we add on 32 ounces, that gives you approximately 132 ounces of fluid that day. That is electrolyte fortified with up to 30 to 40% of your total intake with electrolytes. So I would definitely make sure that you got a good electrolyte powder, one that doesn't have a whole lot of refined carbohydrates in it or any at all, and is able to facilitate the electrolytes that need to be in that fluid. But if you look at the numbers, that means that you're taking in a little bit more than a gallon. A gallon is 128 ounces, 132 ounces is just above that. Now that's a far cry from 8-ounce glasses, which is only 64 ounces. Huge difference. With that understood, hydration, in closing this video, is extremely important in sports performance and in your life. It is very commonly misunderstood, and it is not just about drinking water alone. Rather, you want to see if you can create an exclusionary zone water through eating and through proper augmentation of electrolytes. When you do this, your hydration will always be on point and you'll be accurate. Your performance will improve and you're going to feel better generally all the way around. So this is Coach Cal, the Treigning Lab, coming to you in Coach Cal's corner, and dare to be great.